Hey. Welcome to On the Rocks. I'm Jamie Wilson, and thank you for tuning in tonight. And thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me. Guys, it's been a crazy week. We had a superstorm hit us, and a lot of people need our help. Thankfully, it didn't hit Manila directly, but a lot of other places got hit directly. So please, if you can, just help out if you can. Whatever you can to donate, whether it be some money, some goods, some food, or your time or your energy. Every little bit helps. And speaking of a little help, I'm a little nervous tonight because of our guest. And thank God our friends from liquor.ph sent me over a bottle of Tito's vodka to calm me down. This is like Tito's handmade vodka. It's certified gluten free, it's certified kosher, and it's made of 100% corn. So, wow, guess what, man? It's actually healthy. So, and it's calming my nerves right now because you know what, tonight, guys. Well, let me cheers you first and take a sip before we call her in. My very special guest tonight is someone I admire so very much, and her achievements are a perfect testament of how far natural talent, a great attitude, and a lot of hard work can take you. All right. She's an international star. She's a phenomenal artist. She's a Disney legend. She's a fantastic friend. And she's probably the fiercest and the funniest woman you will ever meet. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, can we please welcome Miss Lea Salonga?
Hi, Jamie.
Hello, Leia. How are you?
Thanks also to liquor.ph because I got my bottle of Tito's and it's good. My God,
It's
it's
smooth,
so
no?
it's like, did I actually put vodka in this? And it's
Right. I keep on checking. I keep on
yeah,
checking with
yeah.
my
It's
drink.
it's
How
it's
much
very
have I
well
put
made. I'm
in?
very impressed. I'm very impressed. So thank you for
Well,
sending that to me.
cheers. Cheers, Leia. Thank you for being
Cheers to
here.
you too. It's funny. I was texting with my manager, and he said that he was drinking the same thing last night.
Oh,
Yeah. So, and he said,
fantastic.
and all the Tito's is gone. I just thought it was very funny.
And this vodka is so smooth. Like I begin to. I'm not a vodka drinker. I'm a
Yeah, I'm
bourbon and
not a
whiskey
frequent.
drinker.
Yeah, I'm not a frequent vodka person either, but I'm impressed by this. I
Yeah.
truly am.
I mean,
It's good.
I'm gonna wonder how it feels like though when I stand up after the show
Don't
and then
then just don't
probably
stand up.
feel it.
Just go straight to the floor. You know, from the chair, go into go on all fours, and then get to where you need to go
Well,
from
thankfully
there.
my bed is crawling distance from
Yeah,
where I'm
so is mine.
broadcasting.
So is mine. It's like 3 feet away. So it's I'm good. I'm good. I'll be good. I'll be fine.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
Leah, how's life during the pandemic? How are you doing? You've been very
How am I
busy.
doing? Huh? I'm sorry.
You've been very busy.
I've been very busy. I'm grateful to be very busy. I mean, certainly at the beginning, many artists came together for fundraising efforts. Things like Bayanihan Musikahan,
Yeah.
other individual efforts for the artists' welfare project. A lot of people just coming together to try and help out in whatever way. And things have opened up since. So I think that there have been people able to go back to work. Other places have been able to open, which means we're able to patronize restaurants again and small businesses. Um, my manicurist was finally able to come over, and I felt good
Yay!
about that. I felt it wasn't about so much me getting pampered because I can kind of do that myself anyway, but it's I mean, she needed the work and she presented a COVID negative swab test. So it's like, yeah, come on over. It's fine. And and she said the next time I get a test, I'll let you know. And so it's good. So at least we're able to help the people that regularly take care of us also. So we also get to take care of them. Um, Corporate gigs, can't complain. Um, Learned how to do a few things in the kitchen. I mean, we're going to definitely come to that. But learned how to make my grandmother's leche flan. At least my
Ooh.
mom says it tastes like my Mama Carmen's leche flan, which is a huge compliment because my mom normally does not compliment on stuff like that. She's very picky, as she should be, because that's a recipe that I'm sure she has tasted over and over again and kind of took for granted. So now that she's able to have it again, it's nice to be able to give her that. And Nicole, my daughter now also knows how to make it. So if I'm not available to do it, she knows how to do it. Um, yeah, and that's that.
You've been busy with a lot of
Yeah.
you've done Divas for Democracy. You've done your corporate gigs. Yeah, your Sydney concert is coming out. Is
Yeah,
March
on
27th, right?
November 27, just at the day after Thanksgiving in the US. So it's coming out on PBS and I'm excited. It was my second engagement at the Sydney Opera House, and both the first and the second engagements were sold out. So this is the second engagement that we decided to film, and we filmed it for PBS. And it's going to come out as part of their great performances for the month of November. And PBS is quite well known for broadcasting a lot of theater, whether it's Shakespearean dramas or musical comedies, a lot of documentaries, a lot of educational and cultural programming. And it's stuff that I have found myself just, I plop down on my sofa, you turn it on, and you're just stuck. There's like a documentary about horses that you didn't know you needed to see. you know, it's like I'm fascinated by horses right now.
They've got great programming. Actually, I love
It
the
is.
PBS.
It's wonderful programming, and you feel like your IQ goes up about 5 points just from watching their programming. I don't know how, but that seems to be what happens, and it's wonderful to. I mean, I've been on PBS quite a bit because of the Les Mis anniversaries, both the 10th and the 25th, but this is the first solo engagement, and so it's exciting. It's really, really exciting, and I'm hoping that people will watch it and that people will enjoy it. And yeah, yeah, I'm hoping for the best.
I'm sure they will. I've seen you in concert. I've worked with you in concert.
Yeah, you
There are
have worked with me.
times where I was wearing that headset when we did playlist, and I remember
Oh,
Bobby Garcia, our director, giving me instructions to do one thing or another. I was running around during your concert, and I caught myself busy watching you instead of working. So he actually scolded me on the headset. Jamie, are you watching? Sorry, I'll get right on it. And I had to run around because I mean, your
I'm
concerts
so
are
sorry.
fantastic.
Oh,
It's
thank you. Well, concerts like that, I cannot take full credit. I mean, yeah, it's my name on the poster and I'm the person up on stage, but it takes a village to create one of those things. It takes a fantastic director that knows what he wants. It takes um, amazing lighting designers and sound designers, musical director, that orchestra, um, a backstage crew with a great stage manager. It takes a village to put one of those things together, as it does a musical or a play. Um, so every single person that got to work on every one of my concerts, I am grateful because they make me look good. Also, the costume designers, the guests that come on the show. Oh Lord, and of course the audiences that come into PICC and pack the house and respond so generously. Um, Same when I go abroad. It's a much smaller crew, as there are
Mhm.
usually a lot of in-house people that handle everything. But the ones on tour with me, it's a band with a wonderful musical director, makeup artist, my manager, um, and another assistant. So it's a small crew, a smaller village, but a village nonetheless. And I'm very lucky and I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful team of people that work behind the scenes and make me feel like the stage is the safest place, knowing that everything is so well taken care of that the only thing I have to focus on is the performance and the music, and making sure I don't um, make any mistakes by misreading the teleprompter, for example, because those things happen.
Yeah.
And I've committed those mistakes. So And I sometimes get down on myself when when it's laid out for me so clearly. Usually it's Maro Garcia that does it. And when it's laid out for me so clearly, and yet I miss a word here and there. And then, of course, all the expletives are going off in my head. And she's probably just laughing. It's like, she missed a word, but that's okay. Nobody's going to care.
That's true because you know what? Nobody can tell. Nobody could
Yeah.
tell
As
if
long
you
as I
dropped a
don't
word.
show that something happened, it's fine. Yeah. Nasa nagdadala.
Correct.
I just have
And
to
that's
make dala.
and that's the benefit of really being actors, diba? You never show your
Oo.
mistakes. And you just go straight on through as if nothing ever
Cannot
happened.
show that anything happened. I mean, I've been to shows where stuff happens on stage. Um, and then I go visit my friends backstage afterwards. And then they tell me, oh, something this was not supposed to happen. And I'm like, really? I didn't notice anything. Obviously, I don't know the show. So if I don't notice anything, the only people that would notice are people who are like diehards of that particular show that have seen it at least 5 to 10 times.
Yeah.
Those are the ones, they're the only people that are going to know. The rest of us won't know a thing, won't notice anything. And kudos to that cast that made it so easy and made it feel like nothing was going on. But I'm sure they were all panicking on the inside because I know how that feels.
Never show your panic.
Never show panic, ever. Always, it's like a duck swimming. I have to always be placid on the outside, but you're furiously paddling underwater. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be.
That's true.
Things happen. Stuff
I
happens.
I have never seen it that way before, but yes, be like the duck.
Be like a duck, placid, over the water, frantic paddling underwater. So yeah, be
All
like
right,
the duck.
so Leo, for music and theater, I just want to find out. These are questions I've always wanted to ask you, because I remember my journey very clearly in theater and in music,
Mhm.
but I've always been dying to ask you. So, what led to your discovery of music and theater? How did music and theater enter your life?
Okay, music came first. Um, I guess it was just me being a toddler and getting up on the coffee table and using, like a plug to pretending it was a mic. So that was what I was doing. And my one cousin would come over and stay at our house. Like she would stay for long periods of time. Like if she was having a fight with her mother or something. And we only lived like 2 streets away
Mhm.
from her. So she often would come over because my mom was like her second mom. Like she's still really close to my mother. So she would babysit me. And she was the best babysitter because I remember her with her guitar and she would teach me songs by Maureen McGovern and Olivia Newton-John. So imagine that those are like the initial influences I've had as
Wow.
a vocalist. And those are people that paid attention to lyric. It wasn't about the ad libs. It was always a clean, lyrical, honest, straightforward delivery. So that was my influence from when I was 3. And then later on, you add Karen Carpenter to that. You add the Osmonds, and then people like Helen Reddy and hearing I Am Woman on the radio, I guess, and the Jackson 5, and and ABBA. So those are the kind of artists I was listening to in my childhood. As for theater, this was more direct intervention. My cousin Ria was very active with Repertory Philippines at the time. Like she was getting a lot of the ingenue roles. She was a soprano. And I guess there was some family party at our house at some point. And Ria told my mom, like our moms are sisters. So Ria said, Auntie Bibing, I think you have to bring Lea to this audition. Rep is holding auditions for The King and I think you have to bring her. So that's how it started. So that's how theater came into my life. Introduced by someone else that was actively doing it. And then I guess after that, I must have just fallen in love with it, and I just kept on going. And it never felt like work. I was never scared to be on stage. It never felt intimidating. Uh, I never felt fear. Never had stage fright. It was. It just felt natural, and I don't know if it felt like that feeling of that's where I'm meant to be. I didn't have that kind of an epiphany,
Mhm.
not at 7. I mean, it was just fun. I made friends. There were other kids in the show. So it didn't feel, I didn't feel like, it didn't feel isolating because I wasn't the only 7-year-old in that cast. And there were kids younger than me in the company, which was really nice.
I think that the beauty of it is by starting out so young. We didn't
Mhm.
have. I mean, as children, we didn't know that we should be nervous. I
Yeah.
remember having distinct memories of like all the adults freaking out, and I'm like, no, this is
Oh,
fun. We're gonna get on stage and we
yeah.
get to be
We
somebody
didn't
else.
have I mean, we didn't have that baggage of of being say Coco Laurel in a lead role
Yeah,
in his 20s.
yeah,
I mean, he still is, but he at the time, beautiful man, leading man looks, leading man everything. So I get that he would, feel the nerves creep in. But yeah, you're right. As a kid, it's not something, that bogs you down, which is kind of an advantage. But of course, as adults, we're terrified now when we're up there because we know full well all that can go wrong. We know the pressure because your name's above the title. Whoopee! We better perform well.
and all these things come when you're an adult. But it's nice
Mhm.
that I myself personally love locking into the feeling that I had when I was 7 years old and
Yeah.
I had to go out on that stage. I always look for that because that's the pure joy of it.
Hmm.
It's not like remembering. Of course, you still have to remember your blocking and your cues and
Oh
everything
yeah.
else. But if I center into that feeling of just pure joy of being able to do this and going
Yeah.
out and being somebody else in another world,
Isn't that fun? Oh my god, that's the most fun. It's so much fun.
it really is amazing. Because I
Yeah.
mean, we're telling stories, we get to be other people, and with a definite
Yeah.
ending. It's not an
Yeah.
open-ended thing. There's a act one, there's an act two, and then you take your bow, and then you're done.
Yeah.
So
And you
it's
go
very
home.
nice and controlled. It's controlled circumstances, but
Yeah.
within that, there's so many things that can go wrong that you only realize as an adult.
Yeah.
I remember a few times, like when I was watching, I remember watching Annie. I think for the first time, we weren't part of the production yet. I was with you in the third Annie in Rizal Theater, and that's when I
Okay.
saw firsthand things to happen. And sometimes the dog, who was our Sandy Jabbar?
Ours? Jabbar. We
Yeah,
had Jabbar.
Jabbar. Sometimes he would be a little stubborn if it was a two-show day
Yeah. And he was a little older by the time we did it in
in
Rizal.
Rizal. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a more spry, active dog when he did it the first time. I think he was only 4.
Mhm.
So he was approaching 8, if not 8, when he did it in Rizal. So obviously he's not going to be as quick on his feet. He's going to move a little more slowly because it's the equivalent of a 56-year-old man, you
Yeah.
know, as opposed to 28. So it's a different energy. So I guess all of us had to just be a little more patient with him, and I think everybody understood it was an older dog, but so well trained, so
Yeah.
well behaved, took direction well, and I just felt very safe around him. I mean, I'm a kid, so
Yeah.
and that's a powerful animal. I
Yeah.
was
That's a
really
German
nervous though the first time. Yeah, the first time I was so nervous because something happened during rehearsals with the first dog. Jabbar was the second dog.
Ah.
The first one was a pet, and it wasn't like formally trained. It wasn't
Mhm.
trained, so it could not follow commands. So I think something happened in one rehearsal. I got like nipped in the face with a
Oh.
by a fang. So I think the adults were getting nervous. What if she decides to quit?
And you're the lead role.
And I'm the lead. I'm the title role of this monster. What am I gonna do? No, but then they had to hire an actual trained dog, and this dog was already a professional. I think he had done movies. He had done films. I think he was doing films with what's his name, Fernando Po Jr. I think he was doing action movies.
Wow.
Yeah, so this guy had a resume, longer than a lot of other resumes of a lot of other actors at the time. So when they hired him, and I mean, I was nervous coming into this rehearsal. Um, I remember the ride to Insular feeling really, really long. It was like dead man walking. That's how it felt. And so when I got to meet him and I got to work with him, the more I did it, the more at ease I felt. But keep in mind, and there are photographs to document this. When he reared on his hind legs, he was bigger pa than me. So so I had to respect that this was a strong animal that was larger than I was. But we never had any issues. There were issues though when his trainer, who was dressed up as a policeman in costume,
Mhm.
was obscured by, if there was another policeman in the wings, the dog would get confused.
Yeah.
So that was the tough part. So they had to figure it out.
I
But
remember
yeah.
Tita Bibot. I remember Tita Bibot, who was a director then, scolding some of the actors who would make mistakes by comparing them with Jabbar. It's like, look, the dog gets his blocking perfectly. He gets his, point A to point B. He doesn't make a mistake. What's your excuse? And I remember being screamed at because I had to push in sets. I had to take off
Mhm.
chairs. I remember I had to take off a chair because I was a kid then. I
Yeah.
had to bring a chair off stage that was heavy. That was too heavy for me. But then everybody else was quick changing. So it was
Right.
from I think it was from the mansion of Daddy Warbucks going into a street scene. I think when you're going out to the cinema and everybody was quick
Yeah.
changing.
NYC. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
NYC. And I had to bring out a heavy chair and I remember getting scolded because Jamie, if Jabbar the dog can hit his mark, why can't you,
Aray.
hit your mark? So I was like
Tapos naman.
every day I was there practicing with that heavy chair because,
You must have gotten strong by the end of that run.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why eventually down the line, whenever I'm in charge of a scene change in a, like, for example, in Fun Home and like, in other place I did, it's always easy for me because I remember that moment. If the dog can get it right, Jamie, you should be able to get it right. And
Wow.
that's a bit of wisdom from Tita Bibot that I will always forever be grateful for.
Oh Lord. Tita Bibot and her putting her leg up on a chair. And her putting her foot up on a chair to stress a point.
Yep.
I just remember that her shorts, her loose fitting shirt, and her foot in a sandal or a sneaker on a chair. Or basta nakatuntong on something.
Oh, and so on
To
one
make a
level, one
point.
level up.
Yeah, basta one level. And she was a tiny, I didn't realize how tiny she was until I finally became an adult and I was like looking down.
Yeah.
But so powerful, so smart, my God. And, for all of her shouting and cuss words, I never felt like it was ever personal. I mean, I don't know if it ever was or not, but it never felt like it was getting personal. Yeah, there are other directors who, when they scream at you, you feel like your soul is being crushed.
Yes.
Meg ganon eh. There are people like that, but I did not ever feel that with her, and I liked that she was strict, um, because then you're treating me like an adult. You're treating me like someone that should take this seriously. Um, but yeah, one thing that I do appreciate from her was that it just never felt like it was personal. I mean, there are going to be other actors that are going to be like, wait a minute, but this happened, and it's like yeah, and I'm not invalidating, those occurrences either. I'm just speaking about my own experience with her. It just never felt like it got personal. Not even when I was 9 or 10. I always felt like I could trust her and to get the best out of me.
That's the beauty of but to be, but she instilled so much discipline in all of us
So much,
back
yes.
then.
Oh,
to a fault. I mean, this woman would, if you were 1 minute late, you just better go home because,
turn around,
right, turn
leave,
around
don't
and
show
go
your
right
face
out the
ever
door.
again.
And
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it because she instilled so much discipline in us. And that's in the theater world, though. But when you had your own TV show, you started
yeah,
doing showbiz, you started doing
in film.
television and film. What was it a major adjustment for
Oh
you
my
to go
God.
from theater into that world? Uh-oh.
And I'm not even drunk pa ha. I still have a lot left. I didn't I only poured myself 2 ounces of vodka. So that's it. I'm I haven't gotten much sleep. So I think this is gonna be enough.
Nice.
Um yeah, 2 ounces, just a little bit. It's a respectable amount. Um it, the first conversation I had about any showbiz related anything was with Tita Bibot. I got an offer to do a movie
Mhm.
with other child actors also. Janice de Belen, Cheryl Cruz, Andrea Bautista, and Nino Mulak. And so before I even accepted, I asked Tita Bibot, I'm being asked to do this movie and I'm 10 years old asking her this. Do you think I should? And parang she had this naughty, I could hear the naughtiness in her voice when she said, you should give it a try. Give it a try. See if you like it. No, ganon. That's what she said. See if you like it. And then, um, so I went through the whole experience of that movie. It was definitely a rude awakening into a world that I was, I had definitely never seen. Okay, case in point, my first day of shooting, the call slip said the call time was 7 o'clock in the morning. Somewhere in some, like, I don't know where, very rural area. So I'm there before my call time, and my mom makes sure that there's a book so that I don't get bored. 7 o'clock, there's nobody there. Literally no one. No one from production, not one crew
Wow.
member, nobody. No one there to greet us, nothing. We were like literally the only two people on the set. Around maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock, people start to arrive. Other actors start to arrive. As you know, I don't remember the exact timing, but I do remember when the star of the movie finally showed up. 11 o'clock in the morning in his van, still sleeping. He had to be
Oh,
carried to the set by
wow.
somebody. Kasi tulog pa. Malamang he had a shoot the night before and it was puyatan, or he was just puyat from the night before. But I was like, is this experience going to be like this the whole time? 10 years old already, like, you know, figuring out my life. It's like, is it going to be like this? But buti na lang, everybody was very nice on the set. We were, as kids, taken care of. I never felt taken advantage of. I mean, we had late nights, sure.
Yeah.
But watching somebody like Cheryl Cruz or Janice de Belen work, like, wow, these women, child actresses knew how to emotionally get themselves to where they needed to be.
Mhm.
They would, when it's time to prepare, they would, face the wall, and it was fascinating to watch. They'd face the wall and get themselves to whatever emotional state they had to be in, because there was a lot of crying involved. Um, and every time those two in particular would act, it never felt dishonest. It was a lesson to learn from them, and everything felt so sincere and straightforward. Especially Janice, who's a gripo, even from Flor de Luna.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was somebody who was very much accustomed to being in that emotional place where she had to access some tough emotions, and it was a marvel to watch her, like how she was around 13 at the time and played my eldest sister. and I think I was the next one in line. Um, so it was an interesting experience, and my Tagalog was terrible, and Janice had to constantly come after me to teach me the difference between namin and natin, which I did not know at the time. Terrible. My Tagalog was awful. I mean, now obviously I know the difference and I don't make that mistake. Um, but yeah, it was definitely quite a wake up call. And I vowed to never do films again. I think because I was so used to the routine of doing theater, and that you knew when you started, you knew when it ended, and everything was so, it was predictable, and there was structure,
Yes.
which I felt I did not have doing film. But I started doing film again, and I think I was a little bit more accepting of the chaos that came with it, and I ended up enjoying the experience much more. The more that I did it.
I think the most difficult thing about shooting a film, if you're coming from theater, is that you don't go from point A to point B.
Mm-mm.
You're shooting out of sequence. You don't know
Yeah,
where you're coming from, or you might
yeah,
be coming from a scene that you haven't even done yet. And
yeah.
I think
So there's a
that would be the
craft to
hardest
that.
thing.
There is an art to that, which I think now that I'm older, I finally see and I finally understand. But I do love the chronological, the point A, point B, point C, point D. I like that. I like the sequence of events as they happen in a play or in a musical, because you don't really have to think. You just, once you're set on momentum, then it's go time,
Yeah.
and you just, your steamroll ahead. On film, as you said, you film out a sequence. You're sometimes it's the first day, and you film a kissing scene with somebody that you've literally just met that day. So you know, there's yeah. I mean, I just did a film which just came out in the States, and there was a guy who was playing my husband, and I had met him literally on the set on that day. We didn't have anything romantic, but we had to argue,
Yeah.
and so I just had to put myself in a place of being married to this person who I probably will never see again after this shooting day. And yeah, it was one day and I never saw him again. I think
This is
1 or 2 days, and then I just never saw him again. Don't even, yeah. Lovely man, though. Lovely man. And
this is for Yellow Rose, right?
yes, this was for Yellow Rose.
Which is getting great reviews.
Yeah,
And I
it's
hope to see it.
85% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm so proud. It's really a beautiful film. It's really something. I am so proud that I was a part of it. I'm so glad I said yes to it. It's timely without being preachy, without
Mhm.
being super political, but it raises a lot of issues that I think a lot of people can relate to, whatever background uh, they come from. I think there's going to be something in the film that they will be able to see and find a character that they can kind of attach themselves to emotionally. And Eva Noblezada's Rose is just fantastic. So I'm hoping that it becomes available soon via streaming platforms, so
Yeah.
that people here will be able to see it as well. Um, I know that ABS CBN was supposed to, they were one of our equity partners in the making of the film. So I don't know what the plan is as far as the release here. Um, yeah, so I'm just waiting for news, but I'm hoping that it does get streamed, and if it does, then there will be access to it in
Yes.
other territories without having to leave your home.
Yes. Well, hopefully by then, the movie theaters. Well, here the movie theaters have been slowly opening up.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to observe distancing. Um, but yeah, and if we're able to prove that the numbers aren't affected by people even in a limited way, by people going to the theaters and enjoying a movie, then at least we know that we're on the road to, I'm not going to say recovery, that's not quite right, but the road back to some sort of normalcy. I mean, obviously things are not going to be back to the normal that was 2019. it may be a while before we get there, but at least we're starting to find a groove, and know what the rules are. And I'm glad that people here are generally compliant with the mask wearing, um,
Yes.
and the face shields. It makes me feel secure on the rare days that I do go out to do whatever errand or see a couple of friends for lunch. Yeah, I feel safer knowing that I have to fill out a health declaration when I sit down or go anywhere. It makes me feel good that establishments are doing this. Um, Even if it's, just for the peace of mind aspect, it feels good,
That's right. I
that
just
yeah,
got
that
I just got tested this morning. I took the swab test this morning, which is my first swab test.
okay.
And it amazes me that, I mean, the protocols, even if you're entering into testing, because I've repurposed myself into a safety officer now
Mhm.
for shoots and for, these hybrid events, since all my shows are canceled this year. This is
Yeah,
one way
me
of still
also.
being
Yeah.
part. And it's fantastic that there's a fantastic organization called the National Live Events Coalition, or the
Oh, yeah,
NLEC,
yeah, yeah.
that's creating all these protocols for us to follow, because with the hope that if we follow all these protocols, then we can go back to, like you said, a semblance of normalcy.
Yeah. And I think live events are starting to come back. I mean, people that we know are announcing on Facebook that they're working, which
Yes.
makes me so happy. And I think even corporate clients are figuring out ways to kind of do hybrid events. I think there are TV stations that are figuring out how to continue production of their dramas, of their variety shows, while still following strict COVID-19 protocols. It's People are proving that it can be done, and if the numbers are generally unaffected by that, then then more can be done, and then we can see what else can be opened. And I think, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that things are starting to open up for people, for friends of ours that haven't been able to work for a while. There have been people that have needed our help, and thankfully, um, they've gotten the help that they need, and now they're back to work, which makes me feel it makes me feel better.
Yeah, it makes you breathe easier, that there's
Yeah.
light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
And if slowly we open up, then we can, once again go back to doing what we love to do, how we love to do it, which is all in the
Yeah.
same venue, in the same room with people, and it's
Mhm.
live.
Yeah.
And
It might be a
it's
while though, because you never know. There's always going to be that one son of a gun. Um, there's always going to be that one pasaway,
yeah,
um, who will then become a super spreader. So we don't want that either. Um, so to prevent that, and to prevent another lockdown, I think everyone just needs to be compliant with whatever rules are in place. It's not selfish. You do it so that to ensure that people can go back to work. I mean, for sure, all of us, our immune systems are shot because we're not out in the open and exposed to whatever germs might make us stronger. So it's like everybody's like the boy in the plastic bubble.
yeah,
So
exactly.
we all have to reset our immune systems and get it back on track. And the only way to do this, let's do this slowly, let's do this safely, and we'll be okay. But we have to take this slow. We can't do this, can't do this suddenly. My mom's at home, atat na to go out. She wants to go out. She wants to be able to do her groceries, like
Yeah,
do her groceries. She hasn't
yeah.
been for the last, I don't know how many months,
It's
8 months
almost eight
now.
months. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
8 months.
So she hasn't. I mean, she has to send someone to do it for her. Um, and she's a senior. I mean, she's 82, 83. She turned 83 this year, and still strong though.
Still
Um,
fierce. I'm
she's a
terrified of your mother.
she's a well.
I'm just terrified of your mother.
I think a lot of people are terrified of my mother, unless you're Bobby. Then he's
Unless
not.
you're Bobby,
Unless you're
exactly.
Bobby, like I'm not terrified of her, but she does drive me crazy.
Well,
That's her job.
bless your mom, because yeah, it's every mom's job to really drive their kids crazy. But also, it was your mom that was a driving force behind you. She
Yeah.
was there at every show. Um, I
Yes.
remember, I remember bumping into her backstage in Miss Saigon and avoiding her because it always feels like whenever she sees me and she gives me that look now, oh, what did you do wrong again? What did you do again?
Like the
And more,
eyebrows are always nakataas.
yes. And more often than not, she was right. I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. So there's an immediate guilt.
Onyemas.
There's an
Ganun
immediate
pala.
guilt of like, oops, I touched somebody's costume. Oh, I touched a prop that I wasn't supposed to touch. And it always felt like she knew what I was doing at every
Like
time.
she's like omnipresent, even if she's not in the theater. It's almost like she's there, just because she's always around. Yeah, but I'm grateful that she was around. That was a lot to carry. I
Yeah.
mean, being in London at 18, that was a lot to carry. I'm glad that she was there. Because if I had been alone, I don't think I could have. I would have lost my damn mind for sure.
So
Yeah,
let's talk about that for a little bit. When you're 18 years old, you just landed the lead role in a brand new musical.
yeah.
You landed the role in a worldwide search, and you
Mm-hmm.
were the one. What was the pressure like?
The pressure of like, okay, what was the population of the Philippines in 1988, 89? Do we know? Does anybody know? How do we?
Oh,
Can we ballpark this maybe at 79, 80 million people?
million? Yeah, yeah.
80 million. Just think. Make one mistake, 80 million people will be very disappointed. That's the feeling.
Oh my God.
I'm sure 40 million of those could not care less. If I'm being honest, you know. Um, but that's how it felt. It just felt like there was such national pride attached to all of us that went on that initial group, and that if any of us did not do well, 80 million people would be very disappointed and would feel shame, embarrassment, collective shame. Um, so that there was a lot of pressure. Um, but thankfully, thankfully, the show was a hit. The reviews for me were quite good, and they got even better when I transferred over to New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of pressure. So I'm thankful that I had my mom there, because you need a support system to help buttress some of that, to help take some of the load off. Especially at that point, there was like a few months after we opened, I started losing my voice.
Hmm.
And so for about 2.5, 3 weeks, I had to be taken off the show and see a voice doctor, a voice therapist, and then start like singing lessons with Mary Hammond, who's one of the best singing teachers in London. I think she's still fully booked and still teaching. Um, but yeah, a lot of the singing technique that I have is taught by her. Um, and she put me through the ringer. She made me sing not just stuff from the show to change the technique of how I went into singing those songs. But she made me sing arias. She made me sing Disney princess stuff. She made me sing stuff from other musicals, just to throw all kinds of different things at me in order to train my voice to do all kinds of different things, so that it wasn't just that one thing that it would get used to.
Yeah.
So I remember there was a song she taught me, How Were Things in Glaucomora? I'm like, what the heck is that? Where is that from? Where's that? From Finian's Rainbow?
I think it's
Possibly?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
might
I
have been
think
from
that's
Finian's Rainbow. So yes, and was already also teaching me the importance of the lyric, how to turn even one word into something important. So there's also that. And then the first Disney princess song she taught me, actually the only Disney princess song she taught me, was Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. So I was singing that for weeks, and cool thing was that's the song I used to audition for Aladdin with. So
Mm.
it was already in my body. So it was like I got this.
And
I'm
you did.
I'm gonna sing that song and I'm gonna get that job. But yeah, so it felt it was almost it felt karmic that I had that song kind of already as part of as part of all of these singing lessons with Mary. It felt like it was destiny that I had that song, I sang that song, and then it led me to something else. So it was really cool.
It made you a bona fide Disney princess.
Yeah.
And
Thank you,
then
Jody
you,
Benson.
yeah. And then you've been officially declared a Disney legend.
Yeah.
Now, okay,
The
so
same
what,
year
what
as Jody Benson. So we got ours in the same year, which is really cool. So I got mine in the same year as Anika Noni Rose, who played Tiana in Princess and the Frog. Same year as Paige O'Hara, who was Belle in the movies, in Beauty and the Beast, and Jodie Benson, who was Ariel in just about everything that came out that had anything to do with The Little Mermaid,
yeah.
and Linda Larkin, who was the speaking voice of Jasmine. So the five of us got our Disney Legend trophies on the same day. Um, so four of us sang because Linda doesn't sing. So the four of us got together to sing all sorts of to sing our stuff from the movies
Mm,
that we had made. So it was nice to be able to sing Reflection, to sing the full version of Reflection because it's much
yeah.
shorter than the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the ceremony was in the morning, I got to with my family visit the park in the afternoon, and I had Nicole with me. So our families all got to just take a romp in the park. It's fun.
So is that one of the perks of being in Disneyland? Anytime you show up at any Disneyland, can you just waltz in?
I can walk in. I have a card.
Oh.
I have like a little card.
Yeah?
And I think there might be some blackout dates, like a few, like when it's really, really busy, but I wouldn't want to go then anyway.
True.
Um, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, those dates I tend to avoid like the plague because it's way too crowded. So yeah, my daughter will never know the experience of lining up to go into Disneyland.
Oh,
We've done.
Nicole, that's rock and roll,
I
man.
know, right? So we've gone through back entrances to go into the park. We go through back entrances to go from one part of the park to another part of the park, and we've had escorts, which is really cool. They help us with restaurant reservations and helping to reserve seats for attractions in the park. I don't do the roller coasters anymore. I get really, I get car sick. So I get
Mm.
nauseated from the speed and the twists and the turns. So if it's like a slow ride, I'll do it. Boring, yeah, bring it on. If it's like a show like sitting down and then watching an attraction or watching a
Yeah.
group of performers, that I will do, and that's always fun. And I'm usually one of the loudest people in the theater.
You are always one of the loudest people in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know
Yes.
how to whisper.
No,
I, re-
I do
I,
backstage.
I, I remember during our first rehearsals in Fun Home when there was a scene going on and you were like 10, 15 feet away from me and I could hear you.
I was
And you were
outside.
trying to, you were out. That's, yeah. And I had to go and tell you, Leah, shh. And she's like, I don't know how to whisper.
My voice just carries. I don't know if it's the frequency of it, because I will be having a conversation with a normal tone of voice. I swear to God, it's normal, but it carries and it pierces through objects.
Yep.
So maybe it's just that kind of a voice. Maybe it was just meant to, you know, be in theater. Because
You're, you're,
even at a normal volume, you'll hear me in the back. So it's nice. It's nice to have
yeah.
that in my arsenal. It's good.
Yeah. But if you're the assistant director like me and Bobby's like, is that
Come on,
somebody's noisy outside? I'm like, it's Leia. What can I do? That's
you
how
tell her
her
to be
voice is.
quiet.
Yeah. And I swear, he used to tell me to tell you to be quiet just for the fun of seeing me freak out and me thinking, I have to tell
It.
Leia to be quiet.
It's
And
fine.
I'm probably
You
gonna,
can tell me
yeah.
to be quiet. It's okay. I don't take it hard. My goodness.
I know, but the first time I had to do it, of course I was nervous because I'm like, I realized after I shushed you, I had to go back in and I had to realize, wait, I just told Leia to be quiet. I wonder if I'm going to have my job tomorrow. It's just a thought that randomly goes through my
It's
head. I wonder if
Atlantis. You
I'm
will
going to have my
always have
job.
your job tomorrow. God. No, you'd have to be a major transgressor of something
Yeah.
to no longer be hired in an Atlantis show. You have to do something pretty big. You better be you better commit some really grave sin to
Yeah.
get on
That's
Bobby's
true.
nerves. It better be big.
That's true. So I'd like to talk. Okay, so we've the pressures of being in Miss Saigon. You've gone to from West End to Broadway, from Broadway to Disney. One thing that I was always trying to catch, but I could not get a chance to, and I'm very interested in World War II and what went around it because it helped me
Oh yeah,
understand my parents. And can we talk about allegiance? What drew
sure.
you to allegiance?
Oh, um, as you know, I'm married to a Japanese American. So the story of Allegiance, which is loosely based on George Takei's experience as one of the 120,000 Japanese American internees that were basically, pulled from their homes at the wrong end of the bayonet and hauled away to these internment camps in some of the most desolate, dreary, awful locations in the West Coast. He was in Rower Camp in Arkansas first. No, he remembers being at Santa Anita racetrack
Wow.
and his family in a stall, in a horse stall. And it smelled of manure. Um, and he remembers having to sleep in a horse stall. It's kind of dehumanizing if you think about it. And then to get
Yeah.
carted off and trucked away and put on a train and sent to Arkansas. Um, they basically had everything but their dignity taken away. Um, so what was attractive in the story to me was that something like this could happen in America. You wouldn't think, and it was the first time that I ever knew about it, that I ever knew that there was such a thing as the Japanese American internment during World War II, brought on by the bombing of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese Imperial Forces,
Yeah.
I believe. Um, and so, because Japanese Americans looked like the enemy, there was no proof that Americans of Japanese descent actually did anything, but people were suspicious
Yeah.
that,
People
oh,
were angry.
maybe they're spying, maybe they're not loyal. So there were these there was a loyalty questionnaire that was distributed to every single person in the camp at every camp. Um, and question number 27 and question number 28 were about, do you forswear allegiance, to, I can't remember what it is, but it's basically saying, do you swear your allegiance to the United States? And do
Yeah.
you forswear your allegiance to, to the emperor of Japan? But and a lot of people they were so conflicted. For the younger generation, it was very easy to say, absolutely, I will say yes to this, and I have no allegiance anyway, so I'll just say yes to this and be done with it. But for the older generation, for a lot of them who migrated from Japan,
Yeah.
it's like, why are you questioning our allegiance? We chose to be here, and we have no allegiance to say in question 28, do you forswear allegiance to the Japanese emperor? There is an assumption that there was an allegiance to the Japanese emperor to begin with.
True.
So there was a lot of conflict within families regarding this questionnaire. There were people that would say yes, just to be done with it, but there were a lot of the elders who said no, out of principle, because it's like, we don't have an allegiance to this person, to this country. I don't understand why you are demanding this of us. So in the story of Allegiance, you'd have father and son going up against each other. And then my role as the sister is trying to find the common ground and balance, between these two men. But as a Japanese American woman still trying to find her place, it's a tough. It's you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place between these two
Yeah.
people that you love, and yeah, and so that conflict, we had to play out that conflict, and there were resistors within the camps because of that questionnaire. Um, so it was a very interesting show to be a part of, because there had to be this balance of, because of also what George was telling us. It's like, yeah, this was a terrible experience, but the people who were imprisoned in these camps would always try to find pockets of joy, whether it's in baseball or scouting or dances.
Wow.
And there would be like a dance. There was a song called Paradise, which had a very stinging indictment of what was happening to them. And here's one young man who is so loyal to the United States and wants to do everything he can to prove it, even joining the military. And then here's another young man who was resisting, who is on the opposite side, that my character falls in love with and ends up a resistor herself. So it was an interesting experience seeing all of these dynamics play out. And I think a lot of people shied away from watching it because they had no idea. It's just, they make the assumption that, okay, it's this is going to be what the show is, and the title is Allegiance. What is this going to mean? Is this going to be an anti-American show? And actually, no, it's not. It's not an anti-American show. But as American citizens in the show, it's their right to question. It's their right to say, why is it like this? Why are you doing this to us? Why are you putting us in these concentration camps, which is pretty much what they were? Why are you putting American citizens behind barbed wire fences
Yeah.
when we did absolutely nothing? And it was proven that these citizens, all 120,000, did nothing. They did not help the Japanese imperial forces. They did not help the emperor. They did not help Japan. There was a division called the 442, which is like suffered the most casualties and so many deaths fighting for the United States. So many young Japanese American men who fought, for freedom and
Yeah.
to prove their allegiance. It was an all Japanese American unit. And then I think they would be like climbing like a cliff or something. If they fell, they could not scream because then the enemy would know they were there.
Wow.
So imagine that if anybody like fell or what, they had to stay silent so that the enemy would not be alerted of their presence. But they were able to get so much done. They earned so many Purple Hearts. They earned so much honor. And I think as much as there were so many casualties, and there were American flags presented to their parents who were still inside the camps, by the way. So the irony of this.
Wow.
So to be able to dramatize this in some way, and and when it came time to leave the camps, everyone was presented with like $25 and a bus ticket home. It's like,
Wow.
that's it. And so
Wow.
everybody on stage is like, it's so yeah. So people who watched the show were exposed to what happened, but the internees did not allow the experience to rob them of joy, of dignity, of love, of a sense of humor, and it was really something special to be part of this. And also, I love George. So there you go.
I love George too. He's amazing.
But can you imagine this story and having to put this on
I know.
stage 8 times a week? It
I
does take a
can't.
lot out of you, yeah.
I can't help but feel like this story, even if it happened during World War II, is still so relevant today.
Yeah. where people
Where
who are of a different race or of a different color are all of a
or
sudden identified as the enemy. I mean, take
yeah,
for example 9/11. Um, sure, they've identified, you know, terrorists coming from the Middle East as, committing those heinous crimes. But then that doesn't mean that every single Middle Eastern immigrant into the United States is immediately guilty of terrorism. So when there was a lot of anti-Arab, anti-Middle East sentiment, I think, going on in the United States. So it was like, oh God, it's happening again.
well, it's
It's
even
happening
happening.
all over again. It's still happening.
It's still happening, and it's even happening here, in a sense where if you belong to one group, that means you're the enemy. If you have a different opinion,
Yeah,
I mean, I run into racism, or a version of racism, every day, where I'm treated better because I'm a little fairer,
yeah.
or I'm a little taller, or maybe it's because I look scary, right? Walking into these buildings, I don't get searched, right? But at
There's
the
that.
same time, there's an inequality that's happening, and it's amazing that, because I had never known the history of Allegiance, of the backstory of Allegiance, and
Yeah.
I was not aware about these internment camps, and
Mhm.
my research of World War II was confined to what happened here, because I had to understand why my parents are the way they are, because they had to
Yeah,
live.
my mom is the way that she is because of it. I mean, her wartime experience was being on the wrong end of a gun, seeing Japanese soldiers pointing guns at her family. So,
Yeah.
and she hoards whenever she goes grocery shopping because she's scared to run out of food. And she's like, Anak, I went through war. That's why I'm like that. So,
That's exactly what
diba?
my parents would say. And then this
Yeah,
obsession with Hershey's chocolates and spam.
correct. Well, spam, not
Because
so much. The turkey spam, my mom will still get. She'll get that because it's turkey and it's apparently safer. It's still canned. It's still a canned good.
it's still not that healthy.
It's
But yeah,
still
that
not
meant
that healthy. It's a nice indulgence to have. I like spam light.
mm,
Um, the normal spam I find too salty for me, but the spam light's good, or even the low sodium stuff. Um, it's a nice indulgence once in a while, not as a regular everyday thing.
yeah, but the significance of spam and Hershey's chocolates to our parents
Yeah,
made them feel like, I mean, like, literally, my mom felt like the war was over when an American GI gave her a Hershey's chocolate bar.
yeah. My mom
That's
says the
when
same
she
thing.
knew.
We got
Really?
chocolates from the American soldiers. They gave us chocolate, and she would always get spam from like the PX goods on base because we lived near Angeles for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that, and she has very strong memories of living there and the PX store that she would frequent to get milk, to get her canned goods, and she identified anything American as being superior. It's colonial mentality, and sorry,
Yeah.
mom, but it's true.
Yeah.
Um,
My
now
parents are
though,
the same
it's
way.
you know, but now though it seems to be moving to Asia. That if something is made in this part of the world, it's a good product. I mean, look at how many Samsung phones, the iPhones are made in China, Sony's made in Japan. So your PlayStations are made in Japan, y'all.
Oh,
And
the the
you
the,
know,
the new
um,
PS5 is coming out.
the PS5 is coming out, and the Xbox, what is it, 10? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's coming out. So yeah, so I mean, it's a much more global marketplace. That just because something is made in a certain place doesn't guarantee that it's a good thing or a bad thing.
True.
And I'm glad that, Japanese, Korean um, products are recognized in the global marketplace as being excellent. Like anything that comes out of this continent is going to be excellent, which is a nice thing to be able to say, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a source of pride for us that
Yeah.
at least our region is getting, like, yeah, man, it's made here and it's good.
It's made here and it's fantastic. It's not going to break down. I mean, when something's made in Japan, it's not going to break down because the attention to detail, the attention to detail, it's painstaking. Like they put love and care into making that game console for you. It's fantastic. Down to I had a Japanese car. I bought it in 2002. I bought it around my birthday when I turned 31. I had that car for more than 10 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I finally sold it when I realized I wasn't going to be living in the States for very long, for much longer, because I had moved here and was predominantly here. But I kept the car anyway at my aunt's house. So it was like, this, I just have to maintain it, make sure it gets a smog check every other year. It's a bulldozer. It's a car that just, it refuses to die. I've never had any issues with it. And it's just testament to how well built it was. Now I've sold it and I'm sad, because I love that car. So I have confidence in products that come from this part of the world. It's nice to be able to say.
And it's great also that like parts of our culture are beginning to be completely out there, especially the Filipino
Yeah.
culture. We have
Yes.
Filipinos in almost every film now. We have,
Yes.
John John's on Ratchet.
Ratchet.
That it's
I still
amazing to
haven't seen
see.
it.
I know I
Yeah.
haven't. That's on my.
I have
I'm
so
gonna
many
get to
movies
that
to watch.
playlist right now. I know there's so many things, and now it's ironic because now that we're getting busier, I'm freaking out now. Oh no, when am I gonna finish this series so I can get to the next?
Yeah. I mean, I started the next season of The Boys. Oh, it's
Mm,
fantastic. So
it's
good. It's
amazing.
so good. It's so good. But I probably would have to go back to episodes 1 and 2 to get my momentum back because I lost it.
Yeah.
I've been in the BTS rabbit hole. And I've been, every interview I've done since August, I think, I've had to
Okay.
say these words. I'm in a BTS rabbit hole. No, I do not need to be saved. They are making this pandemic experience much more joyful and happy. And they are fantastic. Oh my God. And the work ethic. Bito Escalante says, disciplinang teatro. I don't think any of them does theater, but the discipline that they put into it, the work ethic, the hunger in their eyes. Okay, so I found this concert on Netflix where it's a big K-pop concert.
Okay.
So BTS is one of the acts, and then there's other acts. I don't remember all of them. I think Shiny was like the big boy band at the time, so they were like the last act to perform. There are rappers, there are other singers and girls and girl bands, boy bands. Their number, you could see it in their eyes. It was like maybe a couple of years after their debut, and the hunger and the intensity and this desire to prove themselves worthy
Yeah.
of that spot, you could see it there because they were not casual about anything.
Yeah.
There was that, like everything
That
was just
comes.
so forward and everyone was so much more laid back. Like we're just doing a Sunday variety show concert. Let's just have fun. Sila, it was serious business. I'm like, oh, these guys are hungry.
Yeah, you can
These
tell. You
guys
can really tell
not
that they're hungry.
shit. And their youngest is, I think, like the hungriest of all of them.
I mean,
Whoever
I'm
the
not.
bunso was. Wow, amazing.
I'm not a K-pop fan, but because of your posts, I started watching their videos, and my jaw just dropped because
Right?
not only are the songs really catchy, but you can really sense the hunger, and they're not products of the usual K-pop machinery,
Yeah.
which is I think what is making them stand out and be more different. I
Yeah.
think they're hungry and
They're
they're taking this
hungry.
seriously and they're out to
Yeah.
take over the world.
Yeah. They're
No?
they're ambitious.
Yeah.
One of them who's one of the rappers, his name is Suga.
Mm.
Because he was a shooting guard when he played basketball in school. So Suga. But I think they named him Suga because he was so sweet or maybe so fair skinned because the guy is white. It's not even fair skin. He's white. He's a reflector. He's so maputi and savage. But he raps the speed. It's like if ever they do Hamilton in Korea, he should play Lafayette. That's how fast his mouth is. So I could compare his speed to that. But he would make a prediction about where the band would go next. So he would say, Billboard. We'll hit number 1 on Billboard, and they did. They debuted at number 1.
Wow. He
And
was
then he
calling
said, and he
shots.
was calling. He was like they called him. Was this because his full name is Min Yoonki, so
Mhm.
the fans call him Min Stradamus.
Ah,
So Ah, so he would predict performance on the Grammys or appearance on the Grammys, and then performance on the Grammys, and then I think the next one is like nominated for a Grammy. I think that's the next prediction he's making. And after
Wow.
Dynamite, you never know. I mean, let's see what the industry does at this point. Um,
Well, I don't know.
so
The miracle of it is that
yeah,
you've got me listening to
to
these guys.
K-pop.
And, I don't know if I'm going to lose my street cred for being a rocker about this, but
No,
then
you
really
have
you
to. Okay,
have to appreciate it.
I'm going to recommend this to you because there's one of them who goes by another name. Also, when he does his solo rap stuff,
Uh-huh.
it's August. Well, not August as an AUGUST. It's AGUST hyphen and then D. So it's
Ah,
August D. He raps solo. It's incredible. It's very different from what he does with BTS, and it's like the music is very different. What he does on his own is very different with what he does as an idol. So there's the idol, and then there's this rapper, this hardcore with profanity rapping.
wow.
Yeah, and yeah, the first single out of his second, they call it a mixtape, but it's really a solo album. The first single from that, it's a work of art. You have to check this video out. It's I will send it to you because I don't want to spell it out here. It's
Yeah.
hot.
Okay. Okay.
It's
Well,
called Dechita.
I just typed down his name, so I will definitely search.
Yeah,
And
Dechita.
if I
One
don't
of your producers
emerge,
alang will have to look for it because they can actually type things out for you because they're unseen.
and
And
if I
yeah,
end up like going down the BTS rabbit hole, we all know that it's gonna
just
be
go
your fault.
down an August D rabbit hole and then maybe go down a rap monster rabbit hole. Those are the good ones, I think, because they do harder stuff when it's the solo stuff. Because with BTS, it's much more family friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
As in they don't even take their shirts off for anybody. They'll show abs, but that's it. Um, but yeah, it's pretty wholesome. But there's a sex appeal that they all have. Um, they're all very attractive, and after a while, you're able to tell all seven of them apart and how different they all are from one another. And then you start to pick out who is the one I tend to watch the most, and then you pick that person out, and that's the one you follow pretty much every time you watch them. It's fun. It's just so much fun.
I
I'm
will
having
take
the
your word
best
for it.
time.
I will take your word for it, and I will start investigating this rabbit hole.
Take your
But to
time.
go back, okay, so
Take your time.
you've had a really full schedule. I mean, your schedules are sometimes like insane between time zones and everything that you're juggling, and it
Yeah. Well, it
amazed
was like
me.
that up until
Well,
COVID.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, up until COVID. But what amazed me to find out that you're actually an avid gamer. So when we were talking about the PlayStation earlier, I just had to ask you about that. So what kind of games do you like to play?
It depends on the
And
platform.
what's your platform?
Okay. I tend to play more on the Xbox, um, but I also play on the PS4 at the moment, the PS4 Pro. I got a copy of Final Fantasy, like the remake of Final Fantasy 7. It's amazing. And I think I spent a good couple of weeks of the quarantine. I mean, I don't sleep much anyway to begin with, but I spent many late nights into early mornings playing that thing, trying to finish as many quests as I could, going into completionist mode. Um, that's just how I play. Even with Assassin's Creed, I'm like that, and I can't wait for the new one to come out at the end of this month. I'm
Yes, I saw the
so
previews.
excited.
Oh, I saw the previews. They look
It's so,
fantastic.
oh my god. I saw the previews and I'm like, oh, that character just did not do that. And it's fantastic. Fantastic. I cannot wait. And I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan anyway. So, I mean, I loved Odyssey. I think I played through like 3, 4 times, the complete playthroughs. So, over the course of like a year, I play first as the girl, then I play as the guy, then I play as the girl again, and then get all the downloadable content, play again, and it's so good, so good. It's so excellently done. There would be glitches here and there, but I mean that's just the nature of the beast. But you accept it when you purchase the game. But it's so worth whatever money I spent. Sulit talaga because I end up playing it so many
Over and over
times.
again.
Yeah. And you play things in a different sequence and you like what would happen if I did this before I did that? So it becomes that game. And you have to go on the internet to find other secrets. If you finish say this particular quest, then you get a certain weapon or a certain type of armor
Yeah.
or and then you try to level up everything, and then you have to get a specific armor so that the atmosphere of hell does not affect you, things like that. So it's fun, and you actually have to think. But after a while, when you have enough sets of armor and everything's powered up, it kind of gets boring and you kind of leave everything.
Because you're super powerful
Because
already.
you're super powerful. There's no challenge anymore. And
Have
then you
you
just wait
ever
for
have
the next one to come out.
Have you ever voiced for a video game?
No.
Because that's,
I
I think,
want to do that so bad, and if I get to
universe,
voice
make
for
it
a video
happen.
game, if I get to voice for a video game, I think it's like I'm set. I'll be so happy. I mean, obviously, I want to keep on working, but I mean, I've voiced for animated stuff. I've
Mhm.
done theater, I've done film, I've done television, live performances, concerts. To do a voice for a video game, that'd be pretty effing cool.
That would be super cool.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so universe, make this happen. Please make this happen. She's at home. She's got a great setup. She's got a wonderful mic.
Yes.
She released vocals and singles for all these recordings. So she can definitely, if you send her a script,
Yeah. I mean, I probably still have to audition for stuff like that, which is fine. I mean, I have no qualms about auditioning. I'm not arrogant. I'll audition for stuff, and it's fun. Um, I've had to do like a couple of self-tape things here at home,
Mhm.
and once you get the hang of it, it's like, all right, like any other audition, you just can't do it in person, but it's more relaxed because you're in your own environment and you can kind of control the environment and how you present yourself.
Yeah.
So there are advantages to self-taping at home, and it's actually quite fun. I've learned to find joy, but it's still an anxious process auditioning. But it's nice to be able to say that I still do it.
We're talking about like taping from home or recording from home. I just want to touch on the one single that has made it onto my permanent playlist. I call it my proof of life playlist, and this is "Dream Again."
Ah,
"Dream Again," Leia. I don't know, like it
oh,
fills
thank
so much.
you.
It fills me with so much hope. It makes me cry, but from a strong place where there is, light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope, and really, the way that we can all be together again. This song just encapsulates all of that. And this was done during the lockdown, right?
Yeah, it was. It was written while we were in lockdown. One of the writers, Daniel Edmonds, was in Sydney, Australia. Still is there. The lyricist, the main lyricist. I mean, both of them did the lyrics for the song. Blair Bodine. She was in Vermont, quarantining with her folks. And my manager, Josh Pultz in New York, got us all together to work on this. So they wrote the song and then they started sending demos. And then I liked it. And then here come piano guides, here come figuring out the keys. And then here comes, making the backing track and me recording it with both Blair and Daniel in the room along with Josh, so that they can in real time give me feedback. Um, and
By
then
in the room,
and
by
then
in the
here's
room, you
me.
mean Zoom?
I'm sorry, they're via
By,
Zoom,
by Zoom.
but I had to learn how to use Logic Pro, because I had to be my own recording engineer for
Yeah.
this. So I had a setup all done in my bathroom closet. Um, yeah, I got to be creative. So, yeah, so I had a setup and everything was fine. And then I went back into it, but unsupervised. I think the following, like 2 or 3 days after, because I wanted to do the vocal over again. I wasn't happy,
Mhm.
so I wanted to do it unsupervised and just let her rip. And then I sent the vocals to Daniel, and then everything got mixed and mastered in the UK. Various musicians came together for it. We had a drummer from Australia, a guitar player from Los Angeles who did this. Our keyboardist was Daniel, who was in Sydney. The two backup singers were in Sydney as well, I think, but they were definitely in Australia. We got feedback also from Gerard, who was in Kuala Lumpur
Yeah.
already. So it was a global team that did this. And it turned out to be a project that gave all of us hope and joy. It made me so happy to record it and to finally release it and to shoot this music video just here at home. Figuring out, okay, what do I do? And I don't think I had quite the correct setup yet. Um, I think things have gotten a little bit better now, since it's many months already since then. But it was something that we all felt we needed to express and release out into the world, that we can, that we actually can dream again,
Yes.
that we actually, once all of this is over, and we should prepare ourselves for the kind of joy we know we are going to feel. um yeah, and in the meantime we'll plan. In the meantime we'll dream, we'll Zoom conference with our friends and learn different skills while we're still in lockdown. um yeah, and then just try to keep moving forward until we can all collectively get out again.
Yeah. That I think that's the word. Collectively move forward.
Hmm.
Because we can only get through this together,
Hmm.
and it's all hands on deck if we want to get back to
Totally, yeah.
making our dreams come true.
Hmm.
And I think that's why this song is so important. I've been listening to it on loop all day, and seriously, it just makes me swell. It fills my
Thank
heart.
you.
It makes my soul just fly. And it's the most amazing thing because I mean, really, early in the lockdown, a lot of artists got depressed because A, we were declared non-essential,
Ugh,
and
please.
B, our shows got taken away
Mm-hmm.
from us, and we were all left with what are we going to do now. And what's amazing now is because of not only individual initiatives but collective initiatives. Not only are we be able to we're singing online, we're doing our recordings, and not only that, we've learned how to become sound engineers, our
Yeah.
own lighting people, our
Yes.
own wardrobe people,
Makeup
and
artists,
it makes you
hairdressers. Yeah, for some of us, yeah.
really appreciate all that hard work. At least for the new generation of actors who always grew up with a full team behind them.
Hmm.
Now they're
Well, you and
realizing,
I came from a tradition of well, once I headed off to the West End, I had to do everything on my own. So, yeah. I mean, the only person that ever touched my head was a sound guy to put my microphone in.
yeah,
Otherwise, we'd had hairdressers because there was microphones involved. Um, but yeah, I remember pretty much being pretty much by my lonesome when I was in Les Mis. I had to do my own hair, um, make sure it was cut the right way. But yeah, for Saigon, we really had to be supervised, um, just because there was so many changes. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of younger people. I think well, it depends on your tradition,
true.
because there are those who like doing things themselves, and then there are those who have a whole team provided for them. Um, so those that are used to taking care of themselves, their own makeup, their own hair, this is no different. But those who are pampered on a regular basis, this is quite the awakening, quite a rude one.
what I found amusing is that all the chatter online when people were trying to figure out how to record themselves from home, or live stream, and all the
Yeah.
technical talk. I got so many messages because I'm a technical director.
Yeah.
Like, Jamie, what mic should I get? Jamie, what program do you use? What, and it's nice because, like, finally these actors who are phenomenal actors who just come out and sing, and the only thing they have to worry about is putting their microphone on, right?
Right.
Are now learning how to edit. Like you just said, you had to use Logic Pro,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that frees you up for a whole other mode of creativity,
Yeah.
because now you can, like, hey, I can make music on this. This is excellent. You know, it's new skills
Yeah.
that
That
are
you never
really
thought you'd
hard
ever
to learn.
have to learn because there was always somebody else to do it for you.
Yeah,
But then in this pandemic, when you really can't like go to the recording studio, maybe now I could.
yeah,
Um, if all the protocols are in place and then if I'd have to get tested, then I mean, fine. If that means I can spend 3 or 4 hours in a recording studio to lay down tracks for something, then you know what? Yes, that would be so nice. I do miss going, you know, um, and exercising my creativity that way, also.
yeah.
Um, but that said, it's nice to know that I can do it at home. Um, it's just good to know. And I think everywhere I go now, if I'm back on tour, I take the microphone with me, and yeah, and then be able to do a setup in a hotel room. If I
Hmm.
have to lay down tracks for something real quick, yeah,
You can
then I
do
can
it.
do that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, so we're going to go into this portion now where I call it the rundown, where I'm going to ask you 10 quick questions. This is
Okay.
patterned after our friend James Lipton from the Actor Studio,
Aha. Okay.
with a few modifications. Just
Uh-oh. Oh God.
the first thing that comes into your head. Okay, 10 quick questions.
Okay.
So, first question: what is your favorite word?
Mm, I don't know that I have one. Oh my God, this thing is so good. You're right. It tastes like childhood.
Right? Are
Um,
you having the Milo buns?
yeah.
It's so good.
Nicole loves it. I gave her one. Um, a favorite word? I don't know that I have one. It might be an expletive, actually.
Okay.
But yeah. Ah, the F word is one of my favorite words. F bombs
Okay.
are nice to drop. So yeah.
Okay. Going from that, what is your least favorite word?
My least favorite words. I'm late. I'm going to be late. Those are the ones I hate. I hate saying them. I hate hearing them.
That is true.
Um, yeah. Nakaka-stress. Don't like.
Late.
Late.
Late. Okay. What turns you on?
Intelligence. Um, a good pair of eyes.
Mm.
Um, hmm. Uh, good food. Really good food. That will just make me so happy. And
What?
and watching a really good show. That'll do it.
That's true. Okay. What turns you off?
When I set such high expectations for the show I was gonna watch and it's pangit. Ah, don't like. I have walked out at intermission because of
Oh.
stuff like that. And I hate doing that. But there are times when it's necessary. Um, and it's not out of disrespect for the people who are there. I mean, I ran into those people. I'm like, I'm sorry, I had to get out at intermission. And they're like, oh, don't worry. We understand. If we could have gotten out, we would have.
Oh my god. That's true. I've been in some shows like that. I've watched some shows like that, and really it's a difference between after the show that you're really proud of and you hang out outside.
Yeah. Well, you
But if
can't
you're not
say enough
proud,
good things. Yes.
but if you're not proud of the show, you're like, I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm going
Going
home.
home, I have to. And then you're trying to be so discreet pa as you're leaving. How do I be discreet? So how? Tell me how. I'm not exactly anonymous.
You'll have to put on a disguise
Just to leave.
just to leave, just to go home. You should have one on standby. Just
Like a
if
mask.
you don't, Yeah,
Something.
like
Well,
now,
nowadays
now the
everybody has
man.
to be masked. Nobody's gonna know.
That's true. There you go.
Ah,
So we've figured
nobody's
it
gonna
out.
know. We figured it out.
No, but people
Wear
will
a
still know
mask.
it's
The
you.
mask wearing should be mandatory, just so that in case the show is bad, if you leave, no one will know you were there.
That's a good
For
idea.
that reason, mask wearing should be encouraged.
Okay, question number 5. What
Okay.
sound what sound or noise do you love?
Oh, what sound or noise? Quite a few. I like the crunch of freshly baked bread.
Ah,
Um, what are the sounds? Applause is nice. It's nice, but it's not my favorite sound. Weird naman, ano, if it was. Um, the sound of my daughter calling my name, calling me mama.
mm,
That's always
oh,
like best. The best. That's the best sound for me when she's like, when, especially when she's being malambing. And it's really really sweet. Or if I'm in the bedroom and her bedroom's like just like like a door away, and I hear her singing and she's loud, and so where's else she gonna get it from, right? So and she, she sings Sondheim, she'll sing musicals, she'll sing from animation, and I'll hear it and it's like, oi, this girl has pipes, she has lungs on her.
yeah.
So yeah, and of course Menchu, who's her ninang, will say, ay, mana sa ninang.
Well, with the both of you, there we go.
Yeah, she's loud because Menchu's her ninang. So there you go.
No, she's loud because she's your daughter.
Yeah, sorry. She doesn't know
You're
how to whisper either.
Actually, that's true. When we were working together in Matilda, I could hear her from the wings during the number. And I'm like,
Ay.
anak ka talaga ng nanay mo.
I'm so sorry. But she wants to get into doing musicals. It's
Fantastic.
it's something that she's looking to as a career. But she's now proving herself to be a fantastic writer. She has to write something for one of her school projects, and she's actually good. I'm like, babe, you can sell this. Babe, you can publish this. I think people will like it. So we'll see. We'll see.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so going from that, what sound or noise do you hate?
Sound or busina in traffic. Don't like it.
People who are
I
just
mean,
leaning on their
if
horns.
it's like the one or two pop up, just to go into your house, that's okay. That's acceptable. But when it's this relentless cacophony of horns,
Yeah.
it sounds like a nightmare. It's like you're the little sanctuary that you've created for yourself while you're in traffic. It's already a stressful situation, but this little bubble that you try to create, even if it's in your mind, it's all of a sudden invaded by noise, and you sense the impatience, you sense people's, the stress levels rising. You can feel it around you just
Yeah.
from the sound. And and you try to be understanding, like, yes, everybody in this traffic jam has a place to get to. We all have places to get to. Let's just try to be patient, but it's hard, and I'm understanding of it. But I tell my driver, it's like, let's not add na lang to this, wag na nating dagdagan pa yung ingay. Anyway, we're stuck here, let's play some music and let's just try to take a breath and let it not be, and then I tell the person that I'm meeting na I'm stuck here, I'm so sorry. And yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, if you know Lea Salonga's in the car, stop making busina, guys. Okay? Trust me, you'll be able to hear her if she tells you to be quiet. Okay, next question. If you could
Uh,
perform, and you've collaborated with a lot of amazing people, but
right.
if you could choose one, living or dead, to perform or collaborate with, who would that be?
Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy.
Oh, I saw your interview.
Yes, I was so kilig. And then the funny thing was, so there was the interview, and I thought that that was it. The hosts of this other program showed Seth that snippet of my interview. So I'm like, oh my God! So, so I'm screaming because now he knows that I said all these things about him. And so I'm like, ah, F my life, F. And so I'm a little embarrassed, but he was so complimentary and very, very sweet. So, I mean, if the universe makes it happen, I'll be very, very happy because his voice is incredible.
Yeah.
It's not the stuff on Family Guy. You get his albums, it harkens back to a different time where it's the stuff that Frank Sinatra may have recorded but has not really been heard so much. So Seth's albums are just beautiful.
I can
And I have to add
imagine.
those to our playlist. It's just this voice. It's honey. It's honey that comes out of a speaker. That's his voice. It's
I can imagine the
beautiful.
I can imagine the both of you collaborating on either an album or doing all the voices for a video game.
Oh God. I just want one song. I would love for one duet of something really old something that's not hackneyed or
Yeah.
recorded to death. So I'm sure he would be able to find something that we could do together. He's just like, oh my God. I have a major crush on his voice. She's just so gifted, magnificent vocal ability.
Okay, we're gonna send Seth this video. Just to bombard him and to put the idea in his head na, dude,
Ah,
come on. Pick a song, man. Pick a song.
yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it.
Okay,
I really would.
next question. If your face was on a t-shirt, what would it say?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. Man, my mind's come to a blank.
Or would it say, I don't know? And that's your expression.
Don't ask me. I'm not in charge. Maybe that's what I.
There we go. That's a great t-shirt. I'm not in charge. Don't
I'm
ask me.
not in charge. I only look like I am, but I'm not. Somebody else is higher up than me.
Okay, we have two more questions. I want to skip what's your favorite curse word because you already said F-bombs.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to modify it with another question. What song do you sing that gives you or brings back the pure joy of singing? If you had to choose one
One.
that you never tire of, that you just
I don't
love.
tire of any of them. That's the funny thing. Even the songs I've been doing for the last 30 years, things like I Give My Life for You or On My Own or what. I can honestly say that I don't ever get tired of them. And when I open my mouth to sing them, they feel new. And I just feel joyful every time I open my mouth to sing. Whatever song, whatever song it is. I mean, obviously, if I'm feeling poorly, if I'm feeling under the weather or tired, then singing is not as much fun. I mean, I can do it, but I just have to think more about my technique and how to reach those high notes. And this is where the recording engineer person in me comes in. I know how to make it sound good as well. So
Ah,
there's that. Um, but when I'm feeling really good and strong and everything is connecting, opening my mouth, any song makes me feel joyful, and it should feel that way. And and there's always something new to be found in every song, even if you've sung it a gazillion times. And maybe when I was younger I would get tired of singing the songs because I didn't know how to mine the songs for what they were worth.
yeah.
But as you get older and you live life, and then you look at the song again, you find, oh my gosh, there's something new that never occurred to me was in there. And then you start getting curious. What else? What other song is there that I can mine for something. And depending on what you're going through in your life, you'll find something different. You'll find something new. And something maybe that didn't used to be relevant finds relevance in your life. And then it becomes interesting to sing it because it's all of a sudden reflecting more directly on what's happening rather than just kind of being a song that you just kind of sing. It becomes something else and it takes on a whole different life. So, yeah. So I can't say that there is a song that, like a song that brings me joy because they all do. It's nice to
Okay.
be able to say that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, last question. Before we get to one for the road. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, when you get to heaven, which is not a long time, it's gonna be a long time from
Oh,
now.
God, I hope so. Never
What
know, though.
would what would you like God to say to you?
You did well. That's all.
And yes, you did.
You did
With my
well.
answer, it's gonna be probably like, wait, let me check if you're on the list. Okay, that would be me. Wait lang
I'd
ha.
like to think that God knows our hearts. You know, we're going to be judged via a whole different set of rules. So, you know, you be a good, for me, it's be as good a person as you can be and do as well as you can because life is so short. You have to live life well.
Yes, that's true. All right, so
One
one
of
for the
my
road.
classmates just
Mm,
passed
go ahead.
away. So that was a
Oh,
reminder um, of how short life is. We were classmates in college, but we had met as children. So when I got the news that he had passed away, it was an oh no. So that was a tough one.
and we gotta make
Yeah.
the most out of the time we're given.
Absolutely.
Okay, one for the road. One last
Okay.
question for the road. For anyone starting out in music or the arts, what advice or words of wisdom would you give them?
For anyone starting out, uh, learn how to tell a story
Hmm.
before you think about anything else. Because if you're a singer, if you're an actor or a dancer, your main purpose is to tell a story. It's not about having a nice, great voice. I mean, it's great. It's a great tool, but that will only aid in the story you are trying to tell. At the end of the day, you need to tell a good story. I mean, great performances are great. It's fine, but what leaves a lasting impression to me from a singer, from a dancer, is what they are able to convey and how they're able to leave an impression on my heart and on my mind. I'm not always going to remember, if they hit that high E squarely in the middle. I'm not always going to remember that kind of stuff. I'm not always going to remember if they didn't quite make it to that high E. Only if it was a monumental boo boo, then maybe I'll remember it. But what I will remember is how that performer made me feel and how they made me think. And, if they left an impression on my spirit. And that's how I will judge performers. And, if there's a look in the eye that I can identify as having as like broadcasting sincere emotion, and telling a story with clarity and intent and specificity and all of that good stuff, that to me is going to be that's going to leave something behind. And that's kind of what separates the great ones from the spectacular ones. You want to leave a good story, and that's what people are going to remember. Of course, you have to have great technique when you sing, great technique when you dance to prevent injury, so that you can do your job more effectively. But yeah, tell a good story, learn how to do that, and then everything else will just follow.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
making the time
JP.
for this. Thank you
Sure.
so yeah, we'd like to remind everybody great performances in Broadway's Best, November 27. Make sure you catch that because it's going to be a fantastic concert of Miss Lea
It was
Salonga
so
and
much fun to
BTS.
do. It was just so much fun. I had the best time doing it. Gerard is the conductor of the Sydney Symphony. Um, we bring up somebody from the audience to do a whole new world with me. At least I think that's what we did. I'm not sure which footage they used because we have so much of it. Um,
And just
yeah,
some
but
random person, like a
yeah,
random
just a
person.
random human, and they all have to know how to sing. And thankfully, they do. No auto tune required. Um, yeah, and we all just had such a good time, and yeah, that's really it. We had a good time the whole time. It was a joyful Australian tour. That whole tour was just fun. That was it. I just had the best time. And it was in between when we filmed it. It was in between the two Sweeney runs.
Correct.
So yes, so I was busy.
You didn't take a break at all.
I didn't. I ended Sweeney in Manila, went to Australia, came back home, headed to Singapore, and there we go. Stress na naman once we got to Singapore.
Yeah, it's like putting on a whole different show.
Oh, yeah,
It's a
stress
whole
for
different
you.
thing. Yeah, a lot of stress for me because I had
My
like two
job was
days.
different. My job was to be the cheerleader and to make
Yes, and
everybody
you were.
happy.
And you were a major cheerleader. I remember having a lot of difficult times on stage figuring out the tech for Sweeney Todd in Singapore because just things are different there.
Yeah.
And as soon as I would leave the stage, you would be there in the wings going, "Do you need a hug?" And I'm like, there was one time I said, "Yeah, Leia, I need a hug." And then so after a quick hug, I gotta get right back out there and keep on working so we can open.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for that.
Oh, sure.
And thank you for making time for this. Thank you so much. I can't thank you
Absolutely.
enough.
Thanks for my bottle of vodka and thanks for
Yeah.
my Milo rolls. Oh my God.
Yeah, the Milo buns are amazing. I
It's
can't
so
wait to dig into mine.
after this, I'm gonna dig into mine. It's already here.
Yeah. All right, Leah, thank you so much. We're going to be saying
Thank
goodnight to you.
you.
Thank you so much for making the time and stay safe, stay
Well, you
strong,
too.
and stay sane.
Yes. Thanks to BTS, I'm sane.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Thank you
Thank
so much. Good
you.
night.
Good night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Lea Salonga. I mean, I had a lot more topics I wanted to touch on, but really, if you don't know, if you've just tuned into this show, we're on our seventh episode, I believe in, and every time I write a flow or a sequence and topics that I want to cover, I never really get to make it happy because it all depends on what I'm getting back from my guest. And Leia was dropping a lot of gems tonight, and that I feel so privileged to be here. To be able to talk to her and to ask her some of the questions that I've always wanted to ask her for quite some time. So thank you very much, Lea Salonga. So yeah, so that's our show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I just like to remind you guys, offshore music. This show is powered by Offshore Music. We've got current releases out. Suspiria Pink just dropped a new single called Dismember Avenue. Sulo, a band from Cagayan de Oro, has a single out called Kawalan. And of course, June Lupito's new album, Bodhi 3 NMRK, is out as well. And coming out soon, Lisa Marie is releasing a new single called Miss America on November 6th. And hey, thank you so much to Liquor.ph for our booze tonight. Tito's handmade vodka. It's fantastic. I'm not a vodka drinker, but I am liking this one. And hey, if you look at the ticker underneath on this screen, you're gonna get a promo code. If you that gives you, I think, 5% off of Tito's bundles using the promo code. So check out those details on the scroll or the ticker scrolling down underneath. And if you want to purchase it, you can get a discount. Remember, it's actually a healthy drink. Yeah, you can believe me. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I'd also like to thank Buenos Dias Panaderia for our Milo buns, which I'm going to dig in to right after this broadcast. And of course, thank you so much to Offshore Music. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in. And hey, now that we've announced our guests for the month, next week I'm going to be having a few drinks and hang out with three lovely and really talented ladies, Cookie Chua, Bayang Barrios, and of course Miss Lolita Carbon, also known as the Tres Marias. That's next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. So hey man, thank you so much for tuning in to On the Rocks. I'm Jamie Wilson, reminding you guys to stay safe, stay strong, stay sane, keep on rocking, and keep on rolling. And if all else fails, let the music keep you going. Because if life's gotten you shaken or stirred, mixed up, or on the rocks, what matters most is that you take your shot. Cheers to everybody. Thank you very much, and good night.